Sorry. I'm glad my son just came in. Perfect.
Wait
Hold
a
on.
second.
All right, hold on.
There.
I'm glad he came in. Now we're starting on Facebook. I forgot to turn that part on. Could you just put some hot water in that cup over there? Not that one. Don't use that. I'll show you what. The one over there by the pot. So, in any event, so tell us a little bit about yourself because it's kind of an unusual combination.
Just means the mic thinks you're a little loud. Volume a tad.
So where did you grow up again? But you actually grew up in Venice. That's fun. I mean, I have a lot of memories going down to Venice growing up. Like every place, has gone through many different phases down there. Um, I mean, it used to be like almost like a carnival down there. Oh, we got several people saying hi. Oh, hey Brian. Hold on, just 1 second. Somebody said there's no sound coming out. Just 1 second here. Just a minute here. Oh, okay. So Debbie, do you hear? Oh, she knows it's corrected. Never mind. So my friend said she wasn't hearing things. Now she is.
We do need,
Good.
especially
She already
with
corrected.
guests, so that they can hear him.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Yes. No, we're in good shape with you. Don't worry about it. I just have to make one or two little adjustments. Okay. So yeah. So you started out. You grew up in Venice. Like coming back to what I was saying. I'm sorry. I get interrupted for a second. So I just remember going down there, and it went through all these different seasons, but you could show up down there. It was like you could see everything. Um, is it still like? Well, let's not come to how it is right now. But do you remember those stages like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. The whole boardwalk was,
Yeah, the
you know,
boardwalk.
guys juggling chainsaws and doing shows and doing acrobatics and singing and guitar playing and oh yeah, selling beads and necklaces and all kinds of. It was like a fair down there.
And there was a lot of weightlifters down there too, right? Wasn't that one of the things they were famous
Well,
for?
there was a small area that's weightlifted. It was kind of known for being where Arnold Schwarzenegger went down and
Oh
lifted
yeah,
weight. But that's a very small area. So
is that what they call Muscle Beach, or is that something
Muscle
different?
Beach,
Is
right,
that what that's
right.
called?
So yeah, yeah. So Gold's Gym still down there. There's still a lot of weightlifting in the area. They're still famous for that. But
I'll just
there's a
just a reminder, a memory I have. I know there was some phase or another it became a clothing optional place. Um, I don't know how long that lasted, but or
yeah, that was there was a portion that was like that. So there was a few times where me and my friends are walking down to the beach to go surfing, walking across the beach and seeing some naked people in different doing different things down on the beach. It kind of surprised even us, like, oh, all
yeah,
right,
that's funny.
I'll just keep going to the beach.
Keep going to the beach. We live in a funny world. You got to laugh at
Yeah,
it all. You know, we
right.
we human beings are always like pushing all the limits in every way we can, and
Yeah.
always looking for something new to experience and express, I think. Um, so so is that when you since you grew up there, is that where you started doing surfing? No, but there's no surfing there. Are there waves there? I can't even
Oh
remember.
yeah. Oh yeah. There's surfing in Venice. Sure, sure. In fact, when I was growing up, it was very localized. A lot of the places had a lot of this localism that you couldn't surf there unless you lived there. And even I, as a kid, couldn't go to certain spots. And at
And
the time,
that's not by law, just by the way they treated you, right?
just the way the elders would treat you. Yeah. So unless you could surf at a certain level, or if you knew the right people, you don't surf here. So
That's funny you mentioned that. I read a long article. I don't even know how I got into this, but or maybe it was even on YouTube. There's some place on Pacific Palisades, not Pacific Palisades, in Palos Verdes,
Palos Verdes, right?
that's got a beach that's apparently historically been like a secret almost to
Yeah.
surfers. And then
Yeah.
they were very protective. So if people
Oh
came
yeah.
along, they would do their very best to tell people you can't go here. And for a long time they had it to themselves. But from what this
Yeah.
particular article
Yeah.
said, that sort of changed somewhat. Do you even know what
Yeah, no, they
are
got
you
the
familiar
police
with that?
down there and they put some of these guys in jail and they there was they really you know, crack down on the locals there. But I went there and I got rocks thrown at me, and I
Oh,
had
really?
this kid scratched "Go Home Herms" on the side of my car. I
Go
came
home,
back,
Herms.
and that was Hermosa. They thought I was from Hermosa Beach.
Oh, you thought you were from
That's
Hermosa Beach.
yeah,
That's
it's like
funny.
"Go Home Herm" on the side of my car.
You know, it's funny, Ron. It's just humanity is about how we share things and how we possession of things. That's the whole story of the world, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it comes right and down and includes surfing. So you
yeah,
actually did some surfing, right? I did. I did. My brother, older brother, did some surfing. I when I started trying to surf, and that's about as far as it went for me. Um, I there was back in the days where they had really big surfboards. I think my surfboard was like 10 feet
yeah.
long or something.
Right.
Maybe it's not quite that long. It was big though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Were they that
Probably.
big?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that I just remember, and I just went out a few times, but my life was some things were changing in our life. I didn't have access down to the beach quite as much. But now, has that changed? Is there now a different custom when it comes to surfing? I mean, I know snow skis are much shorter than they used to be. Are surfboards too?
Oh, yeah. They got a lot smaller. In the 70s, that was when the shortboard revolution came in, and all the boards got smaller and smaller. In fact, when I started surfing on a very short board. I started, on a kind of a belly board. We had little rafts that we would surf on back then. And then I went to a belly board and then to a knee board. So a knee board was a very short board. And I never learned to surf on a longboard because I
Huh.
was started right in that point when we were the shortboard revolution. And I started learning to surf on my knee board, which was only, less than 6 feet long.
So
So
what's the I can guess because I'm just picturing snow skiing too, but what's the difference between a longboard and a shortboard? There's probably some pros and cons to both, I'm guessing.
yeah, even now, a lot of the kids are using longboards, especially now they're foam longboards. They're very safe, but they're very easy to use. They paddle easy, they're easy to learn to surf on, and they get out through the waves easier. You can catch waves easier. So that's
By the
the
way, Craig Duswalt
that's
just got on Facebook and
yeah.
said to say hi to you and said to say hi to you.
Oh, yeah. What so
Yeah,
who's on there?
that was Craig Duswalt.
Oh, Craig. Hey, Craig.
But by the way,
That's
we'll just do this little promo for Craig. Craig just coordinated an AI boot camp, artificial intelligence boot camp over near LAX at a hotel there that Ron and I attended. And that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
oh, it's amazing. Amazing. I have such an eye-opening experience just seeing what AI is capable of and how it's going to affect our lives
By the way,
and how most important how we can take advantage of it,
yes,
really.
by the way, I want to repeat one thing that John, the guy who was teaching it, John Limbacher. Actually, you know what? I should connect. I should link him to this too. Now that you mention it, I'm gonna tag him too, but to this broadcast. But he said something which is worth listening to everybody listening out there. One little comment, one thought. A lot of people are afraid that AI is going to steal their job. He said, and it's actually true. It may not seem like a big distinction, but it actually is. He said, no, AI is not going to steal your job. A person using AI might steal your job. So it's
Exactly.
only people. It's all
Right.
depends if you use AI or not. But it's
Yeah.
no AI is going to steal your job. Only a person who learns how to use it might take your job. So you need to be one of those people that learns how to use it too, and that way nobody will be taking your job. Or
Yeah. It
yeah,
enhances
Craig put
your job,
exactly on here.
makes you more efficient and doing a better job at it.
Yeah. Yeah, another person's popping in and saying AI will make you better at your job. Yeah, it's going to make us all better. Maybe I'm naive. For some reason, I'm not one of the people that's been real afraid of AI. I think, listen, the world's had enough drudgery in it. I'd love to see more drudgery kind of jobs taken over by AI and by robots, for the lack of a better way to put it. Yeah, I think that's our future. I mean, it's already a little bit like that. A lot of farming over the last 20 or maybe even 50 years has gradually become more and more mechanized, right? So instead of
Right.
the farmer having to struggle his way with an ox, pulling it through the dirt, which is it was the way it was until about 100 years ago, right?
Right.
Still
Yeah.
is in a
Yeah.
few parts of the world. Okay, that was the norm. And that's why I'm not afraid because we all look at it as a good thing. Hey, people don't have to do that now. I mean, that would have been pretty backbreaking work, wouldn't it? Just spending your whole day in a oh oh interesting. Ron, Craig's saying something about you here. He says you were a bass player for Metallica, Or no, I take it back. A bass player for Metallica called you a legend.
That was very nice of him. Yes.
So I
But
guess.
Robert's from Venice too. He was another surfer from Venice. So
Oh, by the way, somebody else just got on here. Now that you've shared it on your thing,
mhm.
Kurt Inderbitson says to say
Kurt's
hi to
on
you.
there. Really? Wow. Well, he just had a battle with cancer for the last few years. So boy, my healing energy is going out to you, Kurt. So I'm glad to hear you're alive and well.
And Kurt, by the way, one of the ideas of this show is to be healing. I don't know you, of course, personally, but I've never met you, but we'll we're trying to send out healing energy during the whole show. So that's just the idea that just I do believe. As a matter of fact, I just did about a 4 hour drive and I was listening to a recording about spiritual healing. And I do believe we all have a lot of spiritual potential for healing built within us. And I think the key is how to harness it. And I'm not going to claim it's necessarily real simple, but I'm convinced that it's real, that we really can. Craig's saying prayers for Kurt. Um, yeah, Kurt, if you want to share this on your site too, this program, then your friends can see it too. So hold on. Yeah, we got to go to a break. Stay with us on Facebook though, but the radio's going to go to break. My friends that are listening on the radio, we're going to go to a break. This is Robert Sidell, the Gateway Show. Got Ron Howell here tonight, and we'll be back at just a moment. Back on the radio, but we will stay on Facebook now. We're also simulcasting on Facebook. So for those of you on Facebook, stay with me. And those of you on the radio, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. So, people listening in the radio, and it was last week that I was telling you. Actually, I think I'll wait till I get back to the radio. Remind me to mention about that guy who called and said that this show helped his life. But I want to do it when I
Yeah,
get back in the
saved his
radio.
life. He was pretty
Right. And I want
dramatic.
to do that when I get back on the radio.
Right,
That's
right.
what he said. Yeah, it's kind of humbling. I almost hate to say that,
Mhm.
um, but that's the whole idea of this show. You know what? In this world, there's lots of things that can make us feel like we're off track. Things can make us feel like we've made a mistake or this or that. And but you know what? 9 out of 10 times you can bounce back. 9 out of 10 times there's an answer. We just have to be calm and not get stopped by our story. It's funny, we got called today in our office about somebody who was in I guess a fairly bad accident literally 2 years ago. And somehow they figured out, I don't know how they figured it out today, that their last day to file a lawsuit is tomorrow. So, so, so we had to jump into action to figure out some solutions for this person. It was kind of interesting. Now, we didn't have to do anything for him because we never had represented him. We would never let something get that close to the deadline. But
Boy.
but there's also some opportunity there too in this particular case. So life is filled with, you never know when you wake up in the morning, you don't know what opportunities are going to come into your life for the end of the day, do you?
Yeah, no. I've been practicing really trying to actually wake up in the morning and just, hey, I'm going to be aware of everything, whatever is coming to me. God's going to bring something to me, and I'm going to really try to stay aware of that, just all through the day. What is He bringing to me today? What's life bringing to me today? And just be aware of what's opportunities and what's even whether it's a beautiful tree or whatever it is. It's nice to just appreciate that, and you never know what opportunity or what situation is going to be. Whether it's, and people tease me because I tend to pick up trash in the streets. I'm one of those guys that walks
That's
along and
nice. That's a nice thing
I
to do.
I'm gonna just, hey, be aware of that. Put that, make everything a little bit better. And or especially at the beach, I'm at the beach and I'm walking along the beach, and yeah, it's LA and there's a trash on the beach, and my friends will tease me, Ron, there's trash all over the place. But I know, but this this piece of plastic isn't anymore, and I'm gonna take it with
That's
me. And
all. You know what? I think I've talked to lots of people, and we've talked people who are active in their churches, and they maybe go into Africa or somewhere else doing a program there, and they say if you stop and think of the enormity of the problems, you'll never do anything. Period. You
exactly.
won't do anything. So each of us just has to put our oar in the water and do what we can do, and you never know. Like I say, when I come back from the radio, I'm going to mention that story from last week. But you just have no idea how you might impact the world or somebody in your world. So we got to just keep doing our thing. And here we go. We're going back in the radio right now. Okay. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. This is the Gateway Show on every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. on the #1 talk station in Las Vegas. Also simulcasting on Facebook. Got some nice people listening tonight. And I'm also interviewing Ron Howell, who's lived an interesting life. And that's yeah, Craig saying lead by example. Absolutely, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. Um, you know, it's Ron is an interesting person because uh, he's been surfing for a good part of his life. He's also an architect, which we'll come back to that in a little bit. I'm assuming that's how you earn your income, unless you figure out a way to earn money surfing. Um,
No, I never did that.
well, you kind of, you know what, you're a little bit like me. I mean, I have all sorts of like, I do a lot of spiritual work, all different kinds, all the time, and that's not how I earned my income. I earn my income from being an attorney, personal injury attorney. By the way, for those, I don't normally market this at all for California, but if you know somebody in an accident in California, I can help them too. I've been a member of the bar in California for over 47 years, believe it or not. However, my office is in Las Vegas. So I mostly handle cases from Las Vegas. Um, and God willing, nobody listening will face any situation like that. I was sure there's enough accidents out there. Hey, Jonelle, I'm just saying hi to
Yeah.
a few people on here. Hey, Jonelle, nice to see you on there. You know, it's funny. There's Ron, there's some people that are tuning in pretty much every week. And it's just, it's like a support group in a way. And not some people tune in just for whatever time. Some people are on break from their work. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But it's just, that's the idea of this show, to just be a point of encouragement for people, to be lifted up. And also for me, it's good for me to focus my own mind. Just like, do you work out at all? Do you go to the gym or anything?
I work out because surfing, you got to be in shape. And so I'm push-ups and pull-ups and the things that you need to keep in shape. Because surfing is you got to be very strong to surf at any kind of level that you want to stay at. So I got to keep myself fit. Like we were saying earlier, that snowboarding is a little easier. You don't have to be as fit, but surfing, boy, if you want to keep doing that, you got to be fit. You got to be able to swim strong and paddle, hop up to your feet, push-ups. It's all about push-ups. So yeah.
By the way, Craig just put on here. Craig, he's our PR person. Robert, the best personal injury lawyer in the world and most caring. You know what? Well, I will say one thing we do in our business, which is a little bit unusual nowadays. I'm not trying to say there aren't some other lawyers that try to do it also, but we still do the old fashioned. I always tell people we're kind of like an old fashioned law firm or an old fashioned doctor's office, and we still get to know our clients and try to help them. And uh, I I had this couple that's been married like 45 years or something, and one of the other day and said they want to get divorced because I can't say who it is or anything like that. I can't reveal anything. So I said, you know what? I said, you really want this? Obviously I can. I'm not going to do divorce anyway. I don't handle that work. But but I'm trying to be kind of I try to help people in the right direction. You know, and so if I was just being a lawyer, that's all I would. I sat down for a while with this guy and said a prayer with him, and I think honestly, I still can't believe it. I'm pretty sure he'll work this story out. But it's like I like to. That's up to him, obviously. But I like to. We like to be there to try to support our clients in every part of their lives. You know, as an attorney, attorneys are called attorneys and counselors at law. It's interesting because our job involves a lot of counseling on all sorts of levels, and we're not officially
Yeah.
counselors. A psychologist would be, but we are people come to us, and we can't even resolve the case properly without trying to deal with their human needs. So we're always having to
Yeah.
do some level of counseling and trying to help them make a decision. For example, um, do they we're trying to make them decide, do they want to resolve the case, what's in their best interest. There's a complicated set of puzzles that have to be sorted out to represent people properly. So we sort of do it the old fashioned way. We get to know
Were you ever
people.
trained to be a counselor though? It's something I, as an architect, do quite a bit of counseling myself, but they sure don't train you that. It's
That's an
something you
interesting
got
point. Well, yeah, you probably have to do it a lot too. I'm now that you mention it, I didn't really thought about it, but do you do some residential stuff too?
quite a bit of residential. I'm designing a house for a couple, and boy, those two people, I like
You need
big
to counsel.
homes.
You don't even have to
I
tell me
like
more.
short house. I like red. I hate that. And boy, I get in the middle of sometimes. It's really shocking that I actually had a couple get divorced because of the experience they had with designing a house for themselves
That's
because they figured out they were so opposite in so many ways.
that's
Like,
kind of, it's a shame actually.
yeah,
Um, oh yeah, somebody else, my other friends just posted, it's the same with being a realtor, that you have to be
yeah.
you have to do counseling too. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, if you want to be successful in life, I think you want what I actually like about being a lawyer right now in my life is it is rewarding. Oh, and I did want to. I just reminded myself of what I wanted to mention. Last week I was doing the show, and it's funny how God works. I remember thinking, I wonder if I'm really making a difference. Does it really, because I've been doing this for a long time. Is the time spent on this the right thing to do? Now it is good for me almost always, so it's always good for me to hear what I'm saying because it reminds me too. It's like doing exercise. But um, so it's interesting. It turns out right during the show, some guy called into my office and left a message, which I now have the recording on my phone, saying that he loves this show and it saved his life. That's what he said. You saved my life. I love this show. And so I thought, well, I guess that must have been a message from God because I was just thinking to myself, what difference am I making exactly? And suddenly I get that feedback loop. And by the way, I've had that before in the past. I literally had people, I literally had a lady tell me, I think that maybe this prompted the guy to leave a message, that she was considering suicide when the show started. And I didn't think anybody's even listening because it was on Super Bowl Sunday one time. I figured everybody's going to be listening to the Super Bowl. But anyway, at the end of that show, she sent me an email saying, "You would never know this, but I was actually considering suicide." This lady was actually a law student, believe it or not. And and she says, "But listening to your show, I realized," she goes, "I started crying. I realized this is the place I'm supposed to be listening." And she said, "So I decided to go forward in my life." So you never know. You know what, Ron? I'm sure you many times have helped people when they're helping to create a house. I would think it'd be the topic I made for the show is we want to be architects of our. And in fact, I'm going to look up a poem, a famous poem called "The Builder" by Longfellow. The Builder or the Builders, I can't remember. But it talks all about the idea that we are really all building our own life. So we are the architects of our own destiny, aren't we? I mean,
Definitely.
when you
If
go
you
to,
start with a solid foundation and building up from there.
so what is a solid foundation? You tell me. I want to hear this.
Yeah, well, a solid foundation in California is something that's really down into bedrock, something you can really, and in life, you're looking for something, whether it's your parents, your family, love, God, whatever those things are that give you this foundation to build upon. And if you start with a bad foundation, everything else is not going to be very steady. So it's really important to start and with this strong foundation. You can develop a beautiful design, a wonderful house, but if you don't have a strong foundation, it's not going to stay beautiful or strong for very long.
It's funny you mentioned that. A friend of mine, this goes back about 25 years ago now, and I never could reveal any identities, but there's just in any way whatsoever. But they were a successful couple. I'll put it that way. They built a 16,000 square foot house. I mean, it was quite very dramatic, and everything you could imagine. But they started having marital problems and ended up getting divorced. That's the short story. And so you could build the most beautiful house in the world, and that does not assure anything, really, does it? And that's the irony of it. On the other hand, a nice house can really enhance your life, right? I mean, but you have to have the foundation there, don't you? Not just the foundation for your house, but the foundation in your life.
Yeah, or you're going to have this rough. That's where I think if people find religion or things to try to build this foundation on. But really, the foundation's within you, right? This is where the foundation is.
You know what? For me, my life is, I do open my heart to God every day, and and I do accept Christ, but I also am very, very accepting of people wherever they're at in the journey. In fact, some of my best friends consider themselves atheists, and I said, that's fine. I don't care. It doesn't, I'm here to support and love people. And I've gone through pretty much every stage you could go through anyway. So I'm sure when I was a teenager, I was sort of semi-atheistic. I was probably more of an agnostic, actually, just saying I just don't know the answer. And I really still am agnostic in the one sense that I don't know the ultimate answer. I don't. But I have made certain personal choices, and I know we're on a divine journey. That much I'm comfortable in saying. I know we're on a divine journey. And and I would also add to it, if somebody's listening right now, there's a reason for you listening, and there's an opportunity. And it's always like that. And that way for us too. I mean, you and I, Ron, something will change in our lives as a result of this, some way. So that some good will come to us because we're reaching out. And so um, there's always new opportunities in life, every single day of your life. And so we're going to have to go to a break again for a second. One of the things about this show is it always goes faster than you would think it would. I guess it's just the law of life, right? When you're having a good time. But we're going to go to a break again, my friends. We're on the Gateway Radio Show, and interviewing Ron Howell, who's a um, done a tremendous amount of surfing in his life, and also is a successful architect. We're kind of talking about the idea. When we get back, I want to talk a little more with Ron, but I'll still talk to him over the break about how he's worked on designing his life, just like he might apply designing a house. So when we get back, Ron, remind me. I want to ask you about that. All right, my friends, they're listening on the radio. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. I'll be back in a moment. This is Robert Sidell, The Gateway Show. So, Ron, when it comes, I've been doing some design work on a house myself, and luckily my wife and I are usually pretty good at that kind of stuff. Or I apply the system that a lot of men say, yes, dear. you know, by the way, I'm working on a book on marriage right now. Somehow, some way, you have to find a way to resolve your conflicts in life. And otherwise you'll never be happy, right? And that's one of my good friends who's a marriage therapist. Um, that's what she told me, that couples have to sort out that one part of life, which is a power, how you make decisions. And so when you're talking to people that are designing a house, how do they make decisions? How do you help them with that?
Yeah, well, many times I made that one, example of the couple that broke up, but most of the time, and usually I really pride myself in really listening to both sides. And it's really, and make sure each side is very heard. So whatever the husband's guy, I want a big garage, or I want this, and I want a big bathroom, or whatever, a private toilet, and all the things they want, and repeat to them and go, okay. And then really, the wife's like, we don't need a big garage. And so you don't want a big garage. Well, maybe we'll have a medium garage, and try to get some dialogue that I'm in the middle, kind of working through the design process with them. And it's a negotiation, like you said. It's hey, listen to what each, but and be able to come up with the compromise. Usually I'm the one that comes up with the compromise. Well, why don't we don't need to have that big of a bathroom. We could make maybe a little smaller, then we can have the kids' room a little bit bigger, and you just negotiate with them. Yeah, and the making sure that each one is felt heard. And usually at the end of the project, oh, Ron, I can't believe you put up with us. We were so all over the place, and you just brought us together, and we love our house, and it turned out just the way we wanted it. And I tell people that what I do is I facilitate their design. I'm just here to, I'm not designing your house. You are, and I'm just helping you design your house and hearing what you have to say. And this thing is coming from nothing, and you guys are creating it and negotiating between yourselves. So, you can look at here, one likes modern, one likes traditional. Well, what maybe we'll do, take some elements of the traditional and some elements of the modern, we'll put them together, and we'll negotiate it. And usually
Well,
we're very successful.
you know, um, and that's a gift on your part. It's a gift on your part because
Yeah,
you have to be patient, and you have to be willing to spend the time with them to help them figure, kind of unearth within themselves what they're looking for, right?
that's where that counselor comes in, pulling it out. What do you want, and what is it? What are you telling me? What they're saying? How does that influence the design? And
It's
how much
funny you mention
different?
this. I've actually studied Frank Lloyd Wright quite a bit. I think, oh, we're about to go back on the radio. I want to talk to you about him for 1 second.
Mhm. Yeah, I was talking about him today with a client.
Oh, you were? Yeah, hold on 1 second here. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. You're listening to the Gateway Show on every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. And it's also simulcasting live on Facebook. So if you happen to be listening on Facebook, we're thrilled to have you be a part of it. You can always share that with your friends, and the recording's on there later. Also, you can go to YouTube and just type in Sidell Gateway Podcast, and you'll be able to find, you can subscribe to that, and you can always listen to any of these shows. If you find something encouraging, you can listen to it later on. And I've had people call me up saying they're doing that too. So, I think we just do the best we know how to do at a given moment. And yeah. Anyway, I have a pleasure being here. I have the pleasure being here tonight, interviewing Ron Howell, who's a member of a mastermind group that I'm a part of, that Craig Duswalt sponsors. If you're interested in that, you can look up Craig Duswalt if you want. Craig, and then the last name is Duswalt, and he does a mastermind group. Helps people reinvent their lives. Isn't that a good way to describe it, Ron? We're always trying to
Yes.
reinvent our lives, right?
Yeah.
I was explaining that to my kids. I mean, as you move through life, you have to keep reinventing your life, don't you? I mean, that's what the rules that might have applied in any part of our life 10 or 15 years ago are going to be somewhat different today.
Well,
So
having a group like that with all these professionals and to have Craig's kind of like the architect there. He's taking all these bits and pieces and helping each other, each one of us become better at what we're doing, whether we need development in whatever part of that we need in the business, we have people to help us there. So it's
yeah,
great.
and I've been a member of it. I don't hardly like to think how long, but honestly, I think it's been about 10 years now. And it's added a lot of elements to my life, a lot of nice things. I met a lot of nice people. And I'm a big believer. And of course, I wrote a book called The Gateway. I don't have a show on here, but the whole idea of my book is that, look, if you want to be successful, you have to keep saying yes to life. Just like I got on an airplane and flew down to LA and attended part of the artificial intelligence seminar that was down there. So I flew down. And it's funny because, it's funny. This particular flight turned out to be sort of a little bit less smooth than sometimes. I was delayed leaving, so I left my office at 3:30 and did not get to the hotel till 11, even though I came from Vegas, and that was on an airplane. So that got delayed a lot. And then on the way back, my flight got delayed too by an hour. And then when I got on the plane, it was delayed another half hour. So on the runway. So it was so I didn't get home till like midnight. But in spite of that, I met some fun people in the airport. I had fun. I got a chance to work on a book I'm working on, the marriage book I'm working on right now. So wherever you, but I made that effort. I thought it'd be a little easier to get myself in and out than it turned out to be this time. But just showing up down there that 24 hours, it gave me exposure to a lot of different people's ideas and thoughts and new information about artificial intelligence. Um, One of the things I thought was most fun is that our instructor, John Limbacher, was showing how he's created a bot, which is a nice looking woman. Um, and of course, he puts the words in her mouth. That's the funny part of it. Of course, we kind of intellectually know that, but still, it looks like this woman's talking to you about him. Oh, John, he's this nice guy. He's really successful. He'll help you out. I really trust him. And he's the one writing all this stuff. And so and when it makes me laugh because you know that intellectually, but it is coming through the an animated person that's talking and saying these things. So it seems like it's probably true. And then you're realizing that, and she'll say, "I love him, and you're going to love him too." And then you realize he's saying this about himself. So we're and I guarantee we're just at the tip of this iceberg. They're going to have such realistic. Well, they're probably really there already. Well, his is already realistic animation, but it's going to be levels, and probably there's even better levels right this second, I'm guessing.
Well, did you see the part where they took picture of a person, and then they took a video of Michael Jordan playing basketball, and they somehow put this guy's body onto Michael Jordan's body, and it was the guy, and it looked real. It looked like you're watching the basketball game, but this other guy, and he even stuck his tongue out like Marky as he slam dunked, but it looked like the guy. It was perfect.
Oh
It
no, I
was
haven't seen.
amazing.
I didn't see that. I would like to have
You're
seen
like,
that.
oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah, we're in an. The part of the problem is we're not going to know what's real and isn't real some of the time,
right.
and that's a separate issue.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the world's always unfolding. I mean, and there's always new opportunities. So instead of being unhappy about that, what we ought to say is, well, what opportunities is this opening up for me today? How can I live my life more creatively? And that's see, just like you're an architect, but you also keep pursuing surfing and snowboarding. And how often would you say you go surfing?
Two, three times a week. I'd like to do more, but it's trying to, that's enough just to kind of keep in shape enough to be able to do it at a level. So I'm right now working myself back up after an injury. So I'm haven't been is not as strong as would like to be.
So
So
where do you typically go surfing?
it's funny, we have this we call it our little secret surfing spot, but isn't a place in LA that it's
You don't
it's
don't
kind of
tell us where it is. That's for sure.
no, but it's not that secret. People know. But we named it when we were kids. We found this and we named it, and it was it's called Hammerland, and it's kind of off the beaten track. You got to take a walk down to it, and there's a jetty there, and it's kind of amazing because you can go surf there on a Sunday afternoon, and there'll be nobody there. It's really nice that you can go out in the middle of LA where there's 10 million people within 10 minutes, and you can go out and get really good, beautiful waves by yourself with your friends,
Huh.
and it's
So do you wear,
amazing.
I'm just kind of curious. I mean, to me, it'd probably be colder than I liked. Do you wear a sweatsuit? A wetsuit, I mean, not a
You know,
sweatsuit.
I just started not wearing a wetsuit. So summertime, you don't have to wear a wetsuit. But I'm a little more, the cold water doesn't bother me as much. But some guys will wear the wetsuit all during this during the summer. But I like to be without a wetsuit. I love going out without a wetsuit. I love tropical. I've traveled all over the world surfing tropical weather. So here, I try to make it feel as tropical as possible by not being in a wetsuit.
I used to, one thing I loved about the ocean, when I used to, our family had a little trailer on the beach when I was growing up. So I swam a lot as a kid. Plus, I lived in Santa Monica for several years, going back many years ago now. And what I loved about the ocean, there's something about salt water. I've always had this theory that it makes you feel healthier. I mean, and I've always, that's been a little bit of a regret in my life is that I've never figured out how a way to create that unless I am at the ocean. But do you feel better when you're in salt water? Do you feel
Well, it's
anything?
something every surfer can relate to. We call it, I got to get wet. Means I got to get in the ocean because it replenishes you. It recharges you. It gives you this feeling. You go out and you just forget all your troubles and it becomes, and I really think it's a spiritual and literally just physical, electrical. We're grounding with the planet and we're cleansing the system out. And you get out of the water, whether it's 10 minutes or 2 hours, and you just feel better about everything.
And I always
Everything's
like,
going to be okay.
it might sound strange, probably won't. I like the taste of the ocean too. I mean, mind you, it's not, you can't like be drinking
A
it,
little
but
salty.
it's very salty. But it's just, there's a certain flavor the ocean has.
Yeah.
I, no, like I said, I spent a lot of time in the ocean as a kid, and some has that helped, but not too much, really, in all honesty, in recent years, very little, as a matter of fact. Although my family had some land down in the ocean in Costa Rica, and so the water is very warm there. But
Mm.
there you also have uh, jellyfish and all sorts of other things too. You have to kind of keep your eye out. But so
Yeah.
so I'm just kind of curious. So it sounds like you somehow are balancing in your life somewhat, both being a professional, being an architect, but also pursuing your dreams and keeping that going too as happiness. How would you what would you say to people listening to encourage them to do something similar in their lives, whatever their dreams are?
I think just being aware of what your dreams are and just never let going those. I mean, I had a dream as a kid, looking at surfer magazines, going, I want to go to Indonesia and G-Land. Someday I'm going to surf in this spot. I just had this dream. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I actually was able to do it.
So you
And
have gone other parts of the world too?
yeah, yeah. So I went to Indonesia, I went to Bali, and went to I just pursued the great. That was what was beautiful about laptops, because right in around 2000, their laptops were kind of invented, and I could work from anywhere. And there was internet, and I could do the work in the evenings, and then send the drawings out to the contractors. And so I could spend, a month or two in Indonesia and get work done and be able to, pursue my dream of being able to surf the perfect wave.
So yeah, that is very interesting. And that's maybe the balance of this whole life, isn't it? And it sounds like you've worked on trying to maintain that balance, where you keep some isn't all work, but at the same time you do have to get. But it sounds like you have expressed your creativity through your work too, though, through
Oh
your
yeah,
architecture also.
but the dreaming and just having that, I want it. Like the other part, I love snowboarding, and I always wanted to go heliboarding, where you take the helicopter to the top of the
Oh yeah, yeah,
mountain.
yeah, yeah.
That's like the dream, and I just had this dream that I want to do that someday. See, I mean, it's very expensive, so you have to, you're working hard, and you have to be in shape to do it. It's not like something, so you have to practice it,
Yeah.
and then you want to get your friends to do it. So I'm just helping my friends learn and get better. We're all got to go together, guys. And but to have that, like I really,
So
and
did you
something
actually do
as a
that? Did you
goal
go?
to
Did
go.
you go hellboarding ever?
Yeah, oh yes, yes, and it's one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It's
Where did
just
you do that?
in Canada. So you go up in the Canadians, and you go to a resort, and then you take off from the resort. They have helicopters there, and they take you up into the mountains, and they take you up to the top of a mountain, and they drop you off. You get out of the helicopter, and it's like helicopters, you're worried about chopping your head off is probably the most dangerous thing of putting your head down is it, and you get out of helicopter and it takes off, goes away. And then you're on top of this mountain in the middle of a sea of white peaks as far
Wow.
as you can see. And it's just dead silence. And there's this beautiful white powder below you. It's you and your friends. It's spectacular.
Oh, now, by the
Yeah.
way, we have to go to a break right now. Again, for the those listening to the radio, it's the Gateway Show. I'm interviewing um, uh, Ron Howell tonight, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you. We'll be back in just a moment after the break, and I'm also going to be joined by Janet Miller, who's going to share some positive thoughts for us too, who just tuned in. And everybody else, just stay tuned. Those radio, stay tuned, and those of you on Facebook, stay with us. We'll keep going until we get back from the break. How you doing, Janet?
Okay, I'm just trying to line up my phone so my head doesn't get cut off. I mean, I don't know what you see, but
You look good, actually. You look good.
Yeah, it looks great.
okay, well, good.
Yeah. I don't know if you
And that
I don't know if
smile's
you
even
got to
better.
hear, but
Yeah.
Ron's living an interesting life. He's gone snowboarding up in the mountains, been heliboarding. He's done a lot of surfing down at Venice Beach and different places. Although I don't know how much surfing he actually did at Venice, but
Oh,
you're kind of I don't know if this is it changing. I mean, when I was growing up, the lifestyle you're living was the dream, right? To be a surfer, right? The Beach Boys. Remember the Beach Boys?
Right. Yeah. I have friends of mine who, they were lifeguards in the summer and they were, ski instructors and during the winter. And I mean, to me, that was the ultimate life. Wow. And now a lot of them are retired now, but they're still surfing and at the beach and in the mountains. And they're just doing what they love to do. They didn't want to get a job in behind the desk, or they wanted to be at the beach and be in the mountains. And they still live here in Venice. There's guys that I know that were living this lifestyle, and I always am
Like I
envious of
said,
them.
I've always thought Venice was a fun sort of fantasy in a way. Would you say it's still, is that where you live right now? Is Venice still?
Yeah, right near the canals, right?
Is it still pretty nice to live there, would you say?
It's hard right now because there is crime, and I think it's all over Los Angeles, maybe all over. Things are. I feel a desperation in people that I never have felt before. And Venice has always been pretty rough. There's always been homeless. That was part of the kind of the color of Venice, because there's the homeless guys and the jugglers and all the different. But there's been a bit of violence now, and there was somebody just got killed in the canals. It was just a horrible, and it's feeling. I sure hope we can do something to clear this up, because it's getting to the point where we can blame it all on homeless, but there's a desperation, and I think homeless is based on it's a mental illness problem, and the mental illness is caused by people not having the love and support when they're kids and growing up. And I think there's this perpetual trying to break this pattern that we've got in this society right now, and it's gotten us in a bad place. So I'd love to say that it's getting better, but right now it's feeling not as safe as I'd like to tell you. I mean, it's
Well,
not comfortable to have your kids walk down to the beach right now. It's it's not,
interesting.
you
Huh.
know.
Interesting. I think we're going to be back on the air in just a minute. But yeah, well, those are some of the challenges that face our world, don't they?
Yeah, I just lost a job because a guy just decided he didn't want to live in Venice anymore.
Really?
And he
Oh, we're coming
decided he
back on the
just
radio
said,
right now. Hold on.
no.
This is Robert Sidell. Welcome you back to the Gateway Show on the number one talk station in Las Vegas. Also simulcasting on Facebook. Also, if you want to listen to this later on, the same exact recording is both on Facebook. It still will be there too. But also you can go to YouTube and type in Sidell Podcast or Sidell Miracle Podcast, whatever, and you'll pull it up, and you can subscribe to it. You can watch this very same thing. So it's a great pleasure to be here tonight and talking to Ron Howell and talking about going surfing lots of different places, going snowboarding up in the mountains, and even heliboarding. So it sounds like you've lived a pretty adventuresome life, Ron. I I think it's a lot more than we even. And then you've also surfed in Indonesia and Bali and everything.
Oh, all over the world, Europe, and yeah, I've traveled many different places to pursue that. Yeah. And what's really a dream is in LA is that you can surf in the morning and snowboard in the afternoon. I did this winter. there were some amazing days at Mount Baldy. You're familiar with Mount Baldy?
Yes. Yeah.
And there's had some amazing. We had a lot of snow this year, so Mount Baldy was spectacular. So think of LA as being this place where it's all hot and sunny and beachy, but there's some spectacular. Well, you're up in the mountains in up in the
Right.
LA
Right. This
mountains
second
right now.
myself. Yeah. You know what? That is what my dad always used. My parents used to say when they grew up. They said, "Boy, they were living in Michigan, where they had these long gray winters where they might not see the sun for a long time." They said, "God, we could come to Southern California. You're an hour from the beach and another hour from the snow." And just what you're saying. So it's now this might surprise you. Believe it or not, in Vegas, there's an area that's very pine treed and even a ski resort too. And
Yeah,
I think
I
that was.
saw it.
Go ahead.
I haven't been there, but I saw the snow in the mountains the last time I was there during the winter.
There's quite a bit of snow, and we usually have snow,
Yeah.
believe it or not, all the way till March or April on a lot of the
Yeah.
mountains. That's why. By the way, Nevada. Here's a little trivia for you. Nevada means snow covered. That's what it means. Navarre is to snow. So there's a lot of mountain ranges in Nevada that
Yeah.
get covered by snow. And if you ever have a chance, there's a place called Mount Charleston when you come to Vegas. The amazing part of it is only about 45 minutes from downtown. And there's a whole little area, cabins up in the mountains, pine trees. There's no lake or anything, but it's very, very pretty. And it gets way up there. I think it's like 8,000 feet. So it's higher than you might think. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, a beautiful area. So Janet, I've been interviewing Ron, who I met through as a mutual friend through a mastermind group. He's been sharing his life as a surfer, also as an architect. Sometimes he has to work out disputes between family members to how they're going to design a house. And now Janet actually does at this point in her life, she's done a lot of different things too. She actually performs a lot of weddings, don't you?
I do.
Did you
I
perform?
had one today.
I was just going to
I
ask
had
you.
one. Yeah.
You've probably had almost every kind of story in a wedding you can imagine, right? I mean, you tell me these wild stories every now and then.
Yeah, I do have some pretty wild stories. That's true. I've been doing it for 25 years.
So,
So,
well, Janet puts a lot of heart into it. If you know somebody who wants to get married in Las Vegas, she's the person you want to have do it. Um, and yeah, and you do you often do multiple ones in a day, don't you?
oh my gosh, yeah, of course. If it's one of those days everybody wants, I've worked 17, 18 hours and drove to 6 places.
And those kind of days are things like Valentine's Day, right? Or
No. You know, numbers like the 2/22/22 or 11/11/22. And what was it this year? I forgot what it was this year. Oh, we had all those palindrome dates. That's what it was.
what is the palindrome date?
You read it the same. They were all in
Oh,
April.
you
The
go back
same
and forth.
backwards and correct.
Oh, interesting.
People, I know what people will do. So, yeah.
So there's more than just a little white chapel there on the strip. There's other places to get married.
Oh, yeah, outside. I go to Valley of Fire and Red Rock and
Oh,
Calico Basin and Nelson, the ghost town. I like doing them outside. It's nice, you know. Have you ever gone to Virginia Beach to surf?
I've never been to Virginia Beach. No, I was just talking to a friend of mine who's in Cape Hatteras, and he's talking me into coming. And I've never been there either, but no.
That's where I'm from. I grew up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good surfing in Virginia, up and down the East Coast.
Correct. Yeah. So anyhow, so Bob,
So what thought do you have? Janet always
I
have her
know. I'm
share a
going,
thought.
we're talking about surfing and the beach, and it's like,
So
but
what thought of wisdom do you have for us tonight, Janet? What pearl of wisdom do you want to share with us?
yeah, well, here's the thing. To do what he's doing, right? And some of his friends that he said didn't do desk jobs, right? Because I was listening, you know, you have to have faith, the power of faith to accomplish what you want to do that way, to do what you want to you love to do, right? When you say that's true, you have to have faith
Definitely.
to this, right? Okay. So that's what I'm going to talk about because I'm reading something from the Daily Word, Bob.
Great.
Okay. The power of my faith leads me to accomplish great things. Before I can accomplish anything, I must first believe it can happen. No matter how ambitious the aspiration or how lofty the goal, I must begin with faith in myself that I have what it takes to achieve it. Not only do I have faith in myself, I also have to have faith in God. I need never work toward bringing my dreams to life alone. God is within me, grace that smooths my way, and the source of my inspiration and spiritual strength. When I encounter frustration, I stand strong in my faith. I remember there is no circumstance, no setback greater than God. There is no limit to how far faith can carry me. I dare to dream big and reach far, knowing that nothing is impossible. Amen.
Amen.
You know what, Janet? I got a little insight. That's why I like to do this show. I was telling Ron, I always get insights myself every week. And if you want to, there's a lot of dreams I still have. God willing, God will. My body still seems to be working pretty well, and I think yours does too, Janet.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, that's what
Keep our
my
fingers.
thing is. I used to tell your dad I was going to live to be 125, and he told me it was impossible.
She, by the way, Ron, she took care of my dad. She would go in and see him every day. The last uh, 3.5 years of his life.
Years.
She 5 days a week. She worked for our family, and because I knew her already for many years, we trusted her completely. It was a rare. My dad actually told me. I know he told you this too, Janet. This is what we want in our lives as we get older. He said, "Bob, you've made my life much better by bringing in Janet and doing different things. That's nice as a kid to be able to feel that way, to even be able to help out your parents." And I think he liked his last segment of his life, don't you, Janet? I think he enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, we talked about all kinds of things, because he traveled so much.
And Ron,
Yeah, it was good for both of us. Our birthdays were near each other.
And Ron, this is the funny part. I always like to tease her. Plus, he always asked her to spend the night. But that
You
I don't
can't
think
blame
ever.
him, right? He's a pretty
Yeah.
girl.
Up until he died, honest to God, even like a week before he died, and he'd always say, I won't tell Bob. And I go, there won't be anything to tell him. So
All right. Well, would you guys stay on the Facebook for a second? But for those of you on the radio, we're end of our show. It's been a fun time interviewing Ron Howell and the lovely Janet Miller. And listen, and so we'll be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. for the Gateway Show. Those of you on Facebook, stay with me. I'll be there in just a couple more minutes. So take care of yourselves on the radio. God bless. Until next week. Okay. I think we're off the radio now. So anyway, but they can still hear you on Facebook until haven't stopped the broadcast yet. So thank you, Ashley. So anyway, yeah, it was fun. My dad was a very creative person. He used to travel all over the world. He lived a very adventuresome life. And
What did he do? What was his?
Well, he supported himself being a doctor. He was a dermatological surgeon. He practiced medicine pretty actively till he was 85, and then semi-actively just a little bit until he was 90. So he kept. I think for him, it's kind of like what I was sharing with you in my business. He felt people would come to him all the time and say, "Hey, Dr. Sidell, please don't retire. We need you." And that's nice to hear that, especially as you get older, right? People makes you feel needed. And so I think, but he enjoyed his 90s a lot, and he had a lot of fun coming to Vegas. We went to a lot of shows when he first came here, and he was still could get around easily. The last few years of his life, he didn't get out too much. He wasn't as mobile as he was before that. Um, but Janet did a great job, came in and really helped him out, and really enriched his life and helped all of us too. She was really good at that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was a great experience.
I learned a lot about that whole aging story, and I'll always remember this one thing. My dad was a little bit like you, Ron. He traveled all over the world, climbed the Chilkoot Pass in Alaska, went up to the top of Mount, what is it? What's the tallest one in California? Mount McKinney? No, what is it? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Anyway, he hiked all these different places. But the last week of his life, we were leaving church, and we knew he wasn't going to live too long at that point. But we were walking out. He had to step off the curb, and he's holding my arm. He goes, "Bob," he goes, "that could be the Himalayan mountains to me." He goes, he goes, "Stepping off of that is not easy for me." Because, if he did it wrong, he would fall. But luckily, he was holding onto my arm. But it's just kind of funny. Yeah, my friend Elizabeth is posting. It sounds like your dad live to the fullest. Yeah, I'd say he did live to the fullest. I really do. I mean, he could learn. I mean, he had insights about how to improve his life at the end of his life. I'm sure he talked to Janet a lot about it. But I also think he enjoyed a lot of it, even to the very end. What did he say? A week before he died, he told you, "I don't know if I'm ready to go. I'm having too good of a time." Didn't he say something like that?
Yeah, he did. He said, I like hanging out with you. He le- So that was nice that he said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's nice. Yeah, you contributed to him a lot, and he contributed to you, and so it was a nice gift. Well, listen, I think we have come to the end of our show now. So, first of all, Ron, I want to thank you. You're a creative person. You're very creative. I'm sure we just touched the surface of some of your creative adventures, um,
Oh yeah.
but it's still just fun hearing you talk about them. And and Janet, it's always fun having you share your insights. And by the way, Ron, I have another guy that's usually on the show, but except he's in Europe right now on a cruise. Um, but he's a real nice guy. He's like 78 years old. And he's from India, but he lives in the United States. He lives right in Vegas with us. But so we just try to get some positive food for people, right? Remind them to live their dreams. So, Ron, you've been a good inspiration to all of us. How can we live our life in a more creative way? That's what we want to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. How to keep and really, what are we here for? We're here to find bliss, right? That's what we're here for. This is and that's what God and
What do you
life.
think?
Oh,
What do you think about that, Janet? You're kind of laughing about that.
No, I believe it. We are here, to live in joy. Enjoy. No, really, joy.
And I think that's
No
what,
matter what's happening, to just find the joy. Why find anything else, really?
well, and that's
What's
how we
the
can actually make the biggest difference to people in life is by bringing joy and happiness to them. Because it's
mhm.
counterintuitive, but if you commiserate with people and their suffering, and it's okay. That's God bless that, but that may just kind of lock them into suffering more. But if you can be joyous, yeah, Elizabeth, our friend Elizabeth, is saying, live in joy and share joy. That's what I believe, Elizabeth. That's how we really help the world the most.
Well, I think helping people is how we get the most joy out of life, really. I mean, when I teach a kid how to surf or how to snowboard, that's pure bliss to me. To watch some little kid with his, passing this on is something that's it's joyous for me. That's I think helping people is how you get to that
You
pure
know
love
what?
and joy.
It's so beautiful to hear you share that. That's all I can really say. That's our adventure. How can we share love? I call it sharing love. The more love you share, the happier you are. That's is the way I put it.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can do that wherever you are. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. When I was got delayed in these all these delays in the airport Thursday night and Friday night, I just ended up having fun talking to different people. So that was as much as part of that seminar for me as anything, talking to these different people at the airport. But and hearing their stories. And wherever we are, you can make a difference, and people make a difference to us, right? So,
Yeah.
Yep.
and Janet does that
Just
too everywhere. That's when she does these weddings.
I just believe you can do it anywhere. Like I love it when I'm leaving the bank or going into the bank and I hold the door for a man or something and they're like, "Oh, I should be holding it for you." And I go, "Well, why don't you have the experience and let me hold it for you?" It's like and then they laugh, but I know it brings them joy. I held it for two guys the other day when I was getting my water, and then when I was coming in, one of them ran over to hold it for me. It was funny.
That's nice. And I think that's really the way most people want to live. That's my honest opinion. And that's what we have to build on. It's only a real hope for a happy future in our world is if
And
people
spreading
learn
the smile, smiling at people. I just try,
smiling.
I don't care where I'm going, and what the people just want. Even LA, we used to be like smiling when we walked by, but now everybody kind of it's more New Yorky now. But I don't, I'm just gonna, hey, good morning, or whoever you are, and hi.
I still do that. I guess it just depends where you are. I'm like you said, I probably one of those strange guys. Did you ever? It's funny. I
Right.
started thinking about this. You've been to Laguna Beach, right? You remember the guy that was the greeter down there? They have a statue for him. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever seen that down there, Ron? Maybe you haven't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you have? Well, he was alive when I first went down there as a kid, believe it or not. And I remember him standing there waving to everybody. And I started thinking, oh, I wonder if that's what I'm going to turn into a guy like that, standing on the corner waving to people or something. But I mean, but you know what? He was doing good. I mean, and that's why everybody loved him. I mean, he was just harmless guy that just said hi to everybody. And you know what's
Yeah.
funny? In his case, he was homeless, I guess. Anyway, whatever his story was, he just lived up in the caves off the road or something in Laguna. they actually gave him a room in a hotel, Laguna Hotel, for a while, like a year, and finally he says, "No, I liked it, but I
I remember
prefer."
that he didn't like it or something. Yeah.
He didn't like it. He decided he
Yeah.
wanted to go back and live in the caves like he did before. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, you know what? I think we have come to the end of our time here. So, Ron, it's fun talking to you. I'm so glad we did this. I really, really am. It's kind of lifted me up. And Janet, I appreciate you, sharing your positive light with everybody. Janet is very loving and kind wherever she goes, Ron. She's a kind person. So,
Yeah, we can see, I can feel her energy right through the screen here. Just,
Can you? Okay,
yes,
good.
yes, I can feel it. I'm taking it in.
Janet and I have known each other. I hardly want to think of exactly how long. Let's just say more than 35 years. So, it's been.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
I think it's actually more than that. That's why I say, well, let's leave it at that. 35 years. But, well, listen, I wish you both the best, and God bless.
Nice meeting you, Janet.
Nice meeting you too. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too.
You guys take care of
Thanks.
yourselves then. I'm going to log off now. God bless.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye, Bob. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Blessings to everybody
Okay,
listening.
bye.
Bye-bye.